It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
This is Straight Talk with an Latino Greg Penn, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shannon Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fan.
Welcome to Straight Talk today with yours truly, Greg Fan, the Preacher Man, and Ronald Allen. And okay, Ron, let's see, we got the volume right, everything right here, making sure that we all good. Yeah, we good. Us is good. Hey, listen, this is what's going on today. Ron and I here. Maybe Shannon will be joining us a little later on, maybe. But however, what we're doing today, and you'll hear the phone jump buzzing, because people are going to be buzzing and calling. Because this is an exciting program. We're not taking any calls. No calls today. No calls today. Well, we don't take any calls any day. But we're gonna. This program is going to go this way today. We're going to have Miss C, and Miss C is going to do her news and information. Then we'll have Sandra Williams, who is our reporter on the road, and she was on the road down in Montgomery, Selman and Montgomery this past weekend, dealing with the Voters' Right Act that was gutted and the gerrymandering that's taking place across the United States of America, right? Because of what the Supreme Court ruled in terms of Section 2 of the amendment about how they could do what they do. Right. And so they're doing what they do. They just changing. And they do a lot of changing. And so as we're talking about the gerrymandering, and they were down there and they were talking about what's going on in Alabama, and they're going to call their people back to write the lines, let's disenfranchise the black voters, right? Uh-huh. So we'll be talking about that, and then we'll have a segment from her and as they cross the bridge, no reporter that's reporting it. And then Ron and I will be back after that, and we'll be talking about gun violence, a little bit about gun violence. But our biggest conversation today is going to be on not so much gerrymandering, but gerrymandering in the sense is how Donald Trump is gerrymandering the system, period. Where he is now trying to get $1 billion, better than $1 billion. You might well say almost $2 billion.
It's $2 billion, right? 1.7%.
Yeah, we want to round it up, $2 billion that they give to the Proud Boys, the insurrectionists who tried to overthrow the election for him. And his slush fund to create a militia for him.
Now, we can't get reparations.
No, we can't get reparations.
That's irrational.
That's irrational.
But if you take over the Capitol, you can get paid.
You can get paid for it.
All right.
But Ron and I'll be back. We'll be talking about that. Don't you go nowhere. We'll be back after Miss C.
Hi, Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast, or more or less. Listen. I hope you've been doing well since the last time we spoke. I have a few little tidbits that I want to share with you, okay? Agape Church of God at 3761 Adamsville Drive in Southwest Atlanta celebrates its 40th anniversary every Sunday in June at 3 p.m. with guest speakers Apostle Mike Wood Sr. on June 7th, Bishop Calvin Colquitt Sr. on June 14th, Pastor Willie James on June 21st, and Bishop Ray Neal on June 28th. For more information, call 404-753-LOVE. That's 404-753-5683. Reset Church Ministries and Pastor Cedric L. Hamner invites you to worship with them each Sunday at 9 a.m. They're located at 2814 Norman Berry Drive in East Point. You can get more information on their website at www.resetchurchonline.com. That's resetchurchonline.com. Dust off your boots. Liberty International Church at 1362 Metropolitan Parkway in Atlanta wants you to stop by every fifth Sunday at 10 a.m. in your finest Western attire for their Western Sunday service. Letitia Roddy is pastor. Bishop Greg Fan, the preacher man, is the overseer. Okay, now listen, before we go, I want you to like us. I want you to subscribe to us. And I want you to comment and tell us how we're doing. We would really like to know. And number 4, we want you to share us. Don't keep Straight Talk News to yourself. Let everybody know about Straight Talk News, okay? And listen, if you'd like for us to announce your event, just email it to us at straighttalknews1362@gmail.com. That's straighttalknews1362@gmail.com. And listen, this is all for now, but as we go about our daily task, I pray that the Lord is with you in all that you do. And if you need healing, if you need love, if you need whatever you need, just always trust God for it, okay? And may you find strength and peace in His Word. And we'll see you next time, okay? Bye now.
Good morning, Bishop fan and Straight Talk fans. I am here. This is Sandra Lee Williams here in Selma, Alabama, with coalition leader Portia Miller. We come this far by faith. Oh, yeah. There are legislators, there are faith leaders, and community leaders here in Selma this morning marching to the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Once we reach the bridge, we just had a service at the Tabernacle Baptist Church here in Selma where there were a number of pastors praying over what we need to do in this country. We will leave the Edmund Pettus Bridge and then proceed to Montgomery, Alabama, where we are looking forward to having an afternoon of speakers, prayers, and coalition coming together to say, we will fight back. So again, this is Sandra Lee Williams reporting to you from Selma, Alabama. Thank you.
The rally started at 1:30 p.m. Central Time and it lasted several hours here in Montgomery at the steps of the Alabama State Capitol, where thousands of people gathered to express deep concern because they say their voting rights are being diluted, especially after the landmark decision by the U.S. Supreme Court less than 3 weeks ago. This day of action, called All Roads Lead to the South, started in historic Selma at 9 in the morning local time with a prayer service at Tabernacle Baptist Church, followed by a silent march across the iconic Edmund Pettus Bridge, site of the Bloody Sunday police assault on unarmed protesters in 1965. Around 600 people have been expected to march there. Here at the rally, in front of the Capitol, political leaders including Democratic Senators Cory Booker of New Jersey and Raphael Warnock of Georgia delivered speeches, as well as New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Senator Booker told CNN, this movement is not only about voting rights for black people, but protecting democracy for all Americans. And let's remember that on April 29, the U.S. Supreme Court, in a landmark ruling, made it easier for Republicans to disassemble the majority-minority districts that are about all Democrats today have in the Deep South.
I'm a different kind of threat. I can't be scared away or negotiated with. You can't call the cops on me.
Do you still want to hang out after?
I don't want your money or your TV. I don't even have to break in. I'm invited.
school, you know, you're a teacher and everything, the educator. You done turn the kids loose on them, Ron.
We released them.
Well, Ron, I tell you, when you look at this thing, 10 o'clock, do you know where your children are? yeah. Kids out of school, you know, you're a teacher and everything, the educator. You done turn the kids loose on them, Ron.
We released them to the rest of their lives, Bishop.
All right. And because, and we run this commercial every week because we want people to understand that, you know, they're trying to lock up parents because their kids are in places or after curfew and all that stuff. So you need to know where your kids are and don't get locked up because your kids are not where they're supposed to be in the house. You know, we grew up, you got to be in the house before the street light come on.
That was mine too, yeah. So need that street light.
Be the street light. So now the question is, it's 10 o'clock at night. You still got kids out in the street at 10. Do you know where your kids are? And the other thing was that in terms of securing your weapons, and a lot of people are failing to understand that now they're changing the law that if your kids get your weapon, then you're going to be charged.
You liable for it.
You're liable for it.
Right.
But it's the same thing. It's just, if I let you drive my car and you have an accident in my car and you kill somebody, it's just like I was on the wheel myself. You know, so, you know, just be mindful of the laws and secure your weapon. If you got to have a weapon, secure your weapon. Make sure that kids can't get to your weapon, because if something should happen with your weapon that your kid used in the commission of a crime, you will be charged also too.
It's important, Bishop, you bring this up. We have another tragic instance of gun violence out in San Diego. Two white teenagers go into a mosque and begin to have another instance of terrorism. They have online communications about white nationalism, hatred of the same groups in America that seem to always be the targets of these extremist acts of violence. When we talk about how we maintenance our guns and firearms, I say this all the time. When you go to McDonald's and you buy you some French fries, Bishop, do they put the hot fries right in your hand? No, they give you a protective case right there. You don't have to go and buy an extra case. When you buy a watch, do they make you go out and buy a separate case to store your watch? No, it comes with the purchase. But here in this country, you can purchase all manner of firearms without any corresponding casing and storage and holstering. And we need to pass gun legislation, even if we're unable to ban assault rifles, even if we're unable to ban some of these high profile AR-15s and other weapons. What's stopping us from banning legislation that mandates mandatory holsters for all gun carry, even in what they call Georgia now, we are right to carry state.
Right.
But it's still mandatory for you to have a holster.
Right.
Why are we refusing to have safety checks and safety inspectors? You need to have a gun license, and your gun license needs to be inspected every 1, 5, 7, and then 13 years. So if you have a gun inspector come into your home, you're able to verify that all your weapons are properly stored. You have proper ammunition storage and gun storage. Then you're showing yourself to be a responsible gun owner. That's the big NRA argument, that responsible gun ownership absolves you from any type of culpability for this just ridiculous rate of gun violence that we have.
Right.
But we don't mandate it in any way. So I'm looking for politicians, political parties to start doing some common sense gun maintenance so that children, if they're simply investigating a home, we reduce as much as we possibly can their opportunity to come across an accessible firearm.
You know, when we were coming up, you weren't looking in drawers and going here and doing it, because you can move something off the dresser. Your mother would come back and say, "Who been on this dresser?"
That's right.
Because they knew every inch, everything in the house. We don't have parents that's doing those kinds of things today, Ron, honestly. And what you're saying is an option. And it should be when you buy a gun, you ought to buy a gun safety box to secure your gun. Just don't buy a gun and say, well, I got a gun, so I can put it in my drawer. I can put it up on the pillow. I can do this. I can do that. Put it in the drawer. And I tell the kids not to deal with it. Kids nowadays are curious, right? And they're going to look. And if they find a gun, they don't know if it's loaded or unloaded. They are going to play with that gun as though it was a toy. And then they got these toys that look so much like weapons that, and I saw an incident the other day where an officer could have killed a kid because the kid had a gun that looked like a weapon. But thank God that he used common sense and he didn't shoot the kid. He made sure, and the kid was saved and spared. But the kid had a toy gun, a water gun that looked like a real gun.
And as much as we celebrate the bygone days of when my parents were growing up and my grandparents were growing up, when we had a little bit more common courtesy and decency, those days are gone. And it's too much to expect that parents are going to have that care when parents are working. That's a real big issue with parental concern and monitoring of their young people. We were latchkey kids growing up. We let ourselves in, and we had maybe somewhere between 4 and 5 unsupervised hours.
Yeah, excuse me, I had to take my hat off.
Yeah,
so I can see myself.
Make yourself comfortable, Bishop. It's your show. But we're talking about in elementary and middle school, we being let out 2:30, between 3:30, and it's between 6 and 7 when our parents are coming home. So when you're in the house by yourself, in that time, your parents are being responsible by working, but that does leave space that you have run of the house. And if parents, which is totally legal, have their guns just laying out, if they have their guns stored in their chest of drawers or maybe on top of a grandfather clock or any other of the common places where we just assume that it's out of the reach of young people, that I find that to be a insufficient way to be a responsible gun owner now.
Well, certainly it is. But as we're talking about guns and talking about weapons, and as we're looking now at what I would say, I don't want to call him the president. He's not looking out for the people. He said he doesn't care about the people. He said that out of his own mouth.
Mm-hmm.
The
criminal in chief.
The criminal in charge. Right. The criminal in charge says, and he keep on doing all these things to get away from the Epstein file wars and all these other things that he's creating to keep the light off of the Epstein file. But what done in the darkness will come to the light. Now, what happens here is, he's saying, we're going to say he wants $2 billion, right? And someone said that the $1 billion plus dollars equal to $700 million. And I don't know the math, if that's right or wrong, whatever. That's a lot of $1 million to be given to people, right? And so he wants to take care of the insurrectionists who fought for him to make sure that the previous election was overthrown and that Biden wouldn't have been the president. He would have stayed the president of the United States. So now here we are in 2026, and he's parading those people who were against a lawful and legal election. Even the vice president said he wouldn't do it. So he said, well, hang him. Y'all go hang him. Now, if he's going to give these people this kind of money, the deal is he's creating his own little army because they got the money to buy all kinds of weapons. So we'll be a third world country for real because he'll be creating his own form of government, and he'll have his own police force with weapons to do what he needs for them to do. We've seen that with ICE. He did it with ICE. But now you take the Proud Boys and all these other groups and you give them this money. So you're arming them to do his bidding. So he's creating an army within the army, the United States Army.
What's my biggest concern then for groups like the Black community who are opposed politically and economically to his mobilization, why do we still have a political philosophy of compromise? When we talk about reimbursing our community for 244 years of involuntary servitude, our ancestors built the White House, built the Capitol, built the Washington Monument. We were redlined, our communities were redlined in which specific properties in quality areas of town were off limits to Black property seekers. We were steered. We were defrauded from the GI Bill. We were defrauded from FHA loans. We were defrauded when we built the highway system that split our communities in half. So we have documented evidence of the infrastructure of this nation decimating Black communities in Atlanta and Detroit and Los Angeles, Tulsa, North Carolina. But our leaders always tell us, as I experienced in a political rally in 2024, that before we can get our agenda met, we have to make sure everybody else get their agenda, because our representatives in the Democratic Party have to represent more than just Black people. But you see on the other side, Donald Trump is representing his goons. He's putting their needs first. He's stealing it. He sued his own government when those taxes, the reason why he sued the IRS, Bishop,
right,
is because one of the IRS agents under his administration released his tax records and the tax records of 400,000 other Americans, which Trump promised to do anyway and never did. So we had a legal right and claim to see his tax data coming when he's running for president. And he claimed that that was a fraudulent act by the IRS. So he sued them for $10 billion.
Now, let's just be clear. And then he settled the suit.
With his own government. This is what I'm saying. He's suing himself.
He sued himself.
And then sued and settled with himself.
Settled with himself. Yeah, okay, yeah. The criminal.
The criminal in chief.
The criminal. But let me just, it was not an agent. It was actually a contractor. A contractor was the one that did it. But whenever you're running for office, you have to disclose your interests. You have to do this. And he said when he was running that he would definitely show his tax return. Then when they found out that he paid $700, and I mean, really, he did the man a billionaire. He's only paying taxes $700, and John Q. Public, who's on a fixed income, paying $1,200 back to IRS or $2,000 back to IRS, but he only paid $700. Come on now, yeah, but because what he was doing was a lot of time he was just filing bankruptcy. And people say he's such a great businessman. People voted for him because he's such a great businessman. But that businessman who's going to give away $1 billion, and we rounded up to $2 billion, to these individuals who supported him, were loyal to him, he's going to give them this money and bypass Congress. Bypass Congress, who holds the purse string, and talk about how much. But then if we look at all of this that's going on with gas prices going up, people can't afford to pay rent. I mean, just let's think the food going up. We can go health care, all this thing. Those things are not important to him. He said that American people are not important to him. He said that. They're not, I mean, that's not, I'm not worried about them. Forget them. You know, let them pay the $6 and $7 a gallon for gas. But he's hurting the automobile industry because people won't be buying cars because they can't pay for the gas. And maybe that's his way of helping Elon Musk with the electric cars, which they fell out, but they really didn't fall out. Right. Okay, so I mean, he's still in bed with Elon. So let's just be clear.
Elon traveled with him to China.
Traveled with him to China. He sure did. So I mean, so we got to stop being deceived. It said, "Be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatever man soweth, that shall he also reap." So he's sowing discord in his country because he is, as we go to the Bible, he is a part of what they talk about in the Antichrist. if we go into, we're just going to do some biblical teaching here today, right now, as we're looking at what's going on, because he said these things will happen in the latter days. Him, Putin, and the president of China, they in cahoots. They come together, and it's not about the American people. And he is trying to get with them. If you think about it, why you say he was in China with Elon Musk. When he left, Putin came, right? They all getting together because Putin been charged with war crimes, right? Donald Trump give him a Xi because he wants Xi to be with them to deal with the organization who charged people with war crimes because he don't want to be charged with a war crime, right? So you got to look at the bigger picture, and we're being used as pawns for him. He's spending billions of dollars to build a ballroom when people are hungry, when people are outdoors, when people need health care, when people need help. He's taking our money and using our money against us and say, oh, don't worry about them. They'll be all right. Don't worry about them. They're going to be all right. Yeah, right. Okay. Because we are just pawns to be used by him for his own personal gain. I don't even know if he cares about his family really does.
He cares about wealth. He cares about status. And to be deceived, deception is as American as apple pie. That's the only way we rationalize this kleptocracy. We know that the top 1% are stealing and taking their money right off the top in our companies where we work, in the universities where we get our degrees, that we have allowed these individuals to hoard so much wealth above us, and we feel so much pressure to eke out a standard of living that can be quasi-comfortable, and maybe, if we're lucky, leave something to the next generation, that if we're able to achieve that, that is so much relief on our end that it becomes difficult for us to think about how can we band together and put these people in check who are acting as if them taking so much of our money is going to be their permanent way of sustaining themselves. So we need to wake up. But my question to the American people, do we love ourselves enough, and do we love each other enough to come together to stop this grifting? Because the more and more we keep hearing about how this organization and administration, I call it a cartel.
It is a cartel.
It's a cartel. They make money off every policy decision that they make. What Trump said 2 weeks ago, life is basically a big casino now.
Right.
You can gamble on just about any decision. And both of Trump's sons are owners or stakeholders, shareholders in these clearinghouses where these bets on American foreign policy, on domestic policy are being made. They're sharing this information to their inside buddies. And so they have a complete funneling system in which their entire administration is pay for play.
But when we talk about inside trading, Donald Trump is he is so guilty of inside. I don't understand really and truly the American people, that they hate a race of people so much that they would hurt themselves just to hurt others, and don't see that they're hurting themselves. Because if this country destroyed, the democracy done away with, if you think that you're going to be taken care of, they don't care. He doesn't care anymore about it. And that's why you're seeing so many Caucasians now saying, hey, I'm waking up, wait a minute now, I'm being hurt by this too. I can't go to the hospital. We don't even have a hospital in rural Georgia. We don't have a hospital in rural Georgia. I can't go along with this. I got to pay this high phones. I got to pay this high diesel fuel and money for fertilizer and all this stuff. My crops are burning up, and I'm losing money. And then you don't want to give me any relief. Then you want to turn around and take my land and then build data centers or build other things my land, because my land is useful now for
that eat up all the water supply as well, pollute the ground in these data centers as well.
Yeah, so we're doing all of these things, and then you want to say, okay, it's all right. Now, I think there's a need for data centers. Because we got the information, but I don't think that we need to be having data centers that are so large. I mean, we can have data exchange centers that, you know, just take up so much land to be able to exchange information, because guess what? This is a data center because it keeps information. And if that center is down, then you can't get no information. So there's a need for it, but I don't think we need to be taking up all the land, as you just said, to build these big monstrosities of a data center that taking up 30 and 40 and 50 acres of land. But that's a plan too. Hurt the farmers. They ain't got no money. They'll sell their land to Microsoft or whomever to build a data center. So let's just be clear. There's a plan, there's a plot that's going on. People say, well, I ain't for data centers. I'm not for big data centers. I've been telling anybody, I'm not for big data centers, but I am for data exchange centers. They don't have to be that big. They don't have, because we need data centers. You can't cut out data centers, because you cut out data centers, you cut out your information, right? So you got to have them, but you don't have to have them in the magnitude that they're building them now. But they're taking whole communities, and in fact, they're just taking a whole community and creating these centers. That's my position on data centers. I'm not against data exchange centers if they're small enough or don't take up a whole lot of land. Because let me just share this with you. You may not know this. You remember the old Western Union building downtown?
Yeah.
Okay. The old Western Union building right now is a data exchange center. And if you ride by, you'll see it's a data center.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a data exchange center. It's a digital exchange, digital center, which is the same thing as a data center, right? Then right across the street, on the other side, is another data exchange center, right in the heart of downtown Atlanta, on Marietta Street, right up from CNN, right up from the Army Hotel, right next door to the old Atlanta Constitution building that we're now is the city's building, right downtown. Right downtown. So I think people need to be made aware is that data centers are needed, but not to put in these big monstrosities like they did in South Fulton and some of these other places where they just took a whole community and wiped the whole community out. And the people that are left, they're suffering because of these big data centers. So I understand that I'm not for big data centers, but I know that we do need data exchange centers, because you're going to have some way of changing this information that we need. Because if this phone is off, many of us are going to be lost.
We finally have to pay the man.
Right.
We rarely get something for nothing. And so the technological boom, I got so much data stored on my social media profiles, pictures from 15, 20 years ago,
right,
that are still stored, and I'm adding more. I mean, I uploaded this week from field day on Monday and graduation yesterday. So many pictures and data and videos that we're now exchanging and storing on the cloud, in the cloud, below the clouds. And so we do need an infrastructure and a land use plan to support our data usage. But what we have to understand as a society is that land use has always been an extension of our racial caste system. That when you look at where waste treatment facilities have been and landfills have been placed, these have always been dumped in Black communities and in poor communities and in rural communities, and data centers are now following that same pattern. Communities that are already having issues supporting their power grids are now being overburdened with these power guzzling data centers.
Well, we're going to start right here because we got Shannon that's calling in, and I'm gonna get Shannon on the phone. And Connie, ask Shannon to call my number, and we're gonna get Shannon on the phone. And Shannon is one that can really talk about those data centers, because he's been affected about data centers.
He said he was on your phone. Yeah.
You on my phone?
He tried to call you.
Yeah, tell him. Okay, good. All right. So this is straight talking. It's real talk. So I'm gonna get Shannon on the phone, and when I get Shannon on the line, I'm gonna get Shannon to talk to you about how data centers has really, really messed up his community and where he lives today. And let's see, can we get him on the phone here? Okay. All right. He's trying to get me. I'm trying to get him. But I think it's important that he gives it from his perspective. And let's see if I can get him on the phone here right quick, if he'll answer. Let me see if he'll answer. All right. Reverend Jones, are you there? Reverend Jones, are you there? Reverend Jones, just jump in just for a few minutes. I got you on the phone. We're talking about data centers and how data centers have changed and affected communities. And I know you'll be one that can really talk about that. You don't have to be on long with that conversation, but long enough to just explain to the listeners how large data centers how it has crippled your community and where you live.
Well, absolutely. Bishop, and thank you for allowing me to be on for this time in this manner. But we have the largest data center.
He got cut off. All right, Shannon, go on, Shannon. We didn't. You got cut off. You said what now?
The largest data center in the southeast region is there in Union City, South Fork, on the South Fork Union City line. My neighborhood is right there. They came into our community, decimated what was an equestrian agricultural community, putting up large industrial electric grids and posts the size of like 3 and 4 parking spots in a Walmart. It has completely changed the tenor of our community. Water bills are already going up, and it's not even fully functional yet. Electric bills are going up, and we are the poster child for why data centers should not be in that close. They destroy communities, and not only that, we don't know the long-term implications of what this is. It can't be healthy for people to have that amount of power and grid and all of that next door. I have a neighbor that called me crying. She said for 30 years I could open my door and my sister and her husband lived across the street. I can barely see their home now because of this large monstrosity of a electrical pole, industrial pole that is in front of my house. And the last thing that I can say is my parents live in the Fayetteville area, and I've gone and seen the data center that's there off of Highway 54. Nothing like that. They did not do that. They did not disturb this, what I would call a largely mixing now, gentrifying now, but largely a white community. They did not bother them. They did not do that. So this shows that they have no respect for Black life, for our dignity, and perhaps even for our health.
Well, Shannon, I thought that you would be one that really would be able to explain that because you're living it. At this time, we were just talking about that, and your calling in was most timely. But data centers are needed, but they don't have to be as big as they are because we do need data exchange centers. But to your point, if they can do a small data center in Fayetteville, they can do small data centers everywhere.
They could have done small. They could have put the power on that side. And I have neighbors that built their homes in 1967 to 69, and they are now saying we have to move. We can't live here anymore. And the question is where are we going to go? So even our community, we're looking for a high-powered legal firm to come on and to fight us because we are the poster child for what data and AI can do if it's allowed to run amok in Black and brown communities.
Well, thank you so much, Shannon, for sharing with us, and tell your mom and dad we're praying for them. And Shannon, you know what?
Yes, sir.
We love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. And this ain't never straight talk. We talk to you later, my brother.
All right, now.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that was timely because he's living it. He's dealing with it. One of the largest data centers in the metro Atlanta area, right? But understanding we need data centers, but we don't have to disadvantage and take a whole community. It's crazy. It's
Well,
crazy.
Bishop, this is where the business community and the political community has a different value standard than our community and the faith practice that we believe in. We are looking at this as a moral issue. The business world and the political world looks at it as a power issue. Do we have the political power and economic capital to build these data centers wherever we want to? And the answer is yes. Will they have some dust up and a little bit of rigmarole coming from pre-existing communities? Of course. But these industries are well versed and well experienced in dealing with irate black communities. Look what happened when they wanted to build Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Right.
They dealt with a little bit of uproar for the community.
Right.
They moved Friendship Baptist Church and they got their stadium built. It was the same thing when they built Turner Field, when those original black churches in the Summerhill and other areas were decimated and razed to the ground so that we could have a more state-of-the-art sports facility. So these industries are used to moving in on black middle class, underclass, and impoverished neighborhoods to set up the infrastructure to further profit their enterprise. And we have such a compromised political attitude that if you throw us a couple of dollars, if you fund a church program for a summer, we'll back off and let you do whatever you want and throw our own people under the lurch and into the ditch just so that we can continue to eke out a menial subsistence somewhere here in this country. So we need to go back to understanding as children of God, we have authority on our side, and taking less to have something is an abomination. And we need to hear leaders that can finally cultivate that mentality so that we can start winning some of these fights.
Well, I want to just end this with this. Again, I thank you for being a part always. Bishop Tate is out of town because one of their bishops in Bishop Lackey's organization, United Church of God in Christ, passed two of his bishops. So Bishop Tate went to be there this week because he had an assignment. So he's not failing in his assignment, but he has to do that. But I want to point out something here. It always happening in the black communities. In Athens, I remember a few years ago, there was a place called Lemon-Town in Athens. The University of Georgia wanted to build another dormitory. They took out a whole black community to build that dormitory. It is history, and if we do not learn from our history, we will continue to repeat our history. So understand, yes, there are needs for data centers. Yes, there are. But they don't have to be so large that it impacts and it harms our existing communities and cause health hazards, high utility bills, and high water bills. Data change center, again, I think that we need them, but they need to be understood that it's a data change center, not something that's going to take 30 acres to build on and bringing these high power lines running through neighborhoods. They're doing the same thing in these points on not Washington Road, but Welcome Hall Road. This event, the whole community over there. So with all that being said, we thank you so much for just being a part of Straight Talk. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, stick with the truth, and understand that Satan is busy, but God is real. This ain't been nothing but Straight Talk with your truly great friend, the preacher man, and Ronald Allen and Shannon Jones, who dropped in by way of telephone.
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Fan at FANN922@Comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shannon Jones and Greg Pan, the Preacher Man.